Welcome to the MotUS Edge, where we celebrate business, primarily youth sports facility management, leadership, and motivation. Co-hosted by Stacy Rowe, Cole Stott, Kevin Brubaker, and Casey Jones. We are here to fill your cup with knowledge, laughter, affirmations, and comfort knowing that you're not alone. You can and will succeed with the MotUS Edge.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the MotUS Edge. I am here with the fabulous Casey Jones today. No, Kevin or Cole, we kicked them off the podcast. No, I'm just kidding. Our incredible guest who is here with us today is Chris McNabb from iClassPro. We're super excited to talk with you today, all things business and life and iClassPro. So welcome, Chris.
Thanks.
Boom.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming, man.
Absolutely.
Super pumped. So I know that you're like a super smart, techie, nerdy guy right now, but pre all of that, once upon a time, you were a power tumbler, right?
Back in the day, I like to joke that was about 400 pizzas ago, so don't judge me. But that's how I got my start in Amarillo, Texas, at a little gymnastics center, trampoline center called Nard's Gymnastics with Nard Kazil and Tim Hall.
Wow.
That's
really
cool.
cool.
You can't whip out any of those skills now?
Still got it all. Haven't lost anything.
I saw this thing, maybe it was TikTok, I don't know, but it was a guy who was probably, our age. Well, you're younger than me, but, I don't know, 40s. And he was at somewhere and he was, I used to be a cheerleader and went to do a round off handspring and actually looked pretty good. But
he did. Okay.
Blew out his knee. It looked good. He landed pretty good. And then he was just screaming, holding his knee, and everybody kind of thought he was faking. And he wasn't.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I have a similar thing. Ray, everybody know Ray Smell. Everybody knows Ray, right?
Yes, I know Ray. How is Ray?
Conference and Ray said, "You still got it." And he did a standing back and called me out. I was like, "Yeah, I could do that." And I went and took off, did my round off backflip, and I hurt every stomach muscle I thought I ever had. And you can't show it. You have to still act like it didn't hurt. But
totally
3 weeks. Not good.
So this was recently that you did this?
Years ago. No.
Years ago. Okay. I was like, okay, Chris, I'm impressed bringing out your backflips. So what made you want to get into trampoline and tumbling?
You know what? So whenever, let's see here, how did this go down? When I was 10, I started in tumbling and trampoline. I was actually a little late into the sport, but I took an immediate love of tumbling and trampolining, and it was a great way to occupy my mind, keep me out of trouble. My parents bought me a trampoline when I was for my 10th birthday. And they thought I was going to break my neck. And so the next thing I know, I'm at a tumbling and trampoline gym and fell in love with it.
Which was probably pretty smart.
Formal training on how not to break your neck.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember that was probably right around the time when all the backyard trampolines were becoming super popular. And then there were a gajillion emergency room visits, I feel like, for all over the country from it.
We may or may not have put the sprinkler underneath the trampoline and jumped from the house back and forth.
I think everybody has done that. Man,
don't try that at home, folks. Don't try that at home.
My kids love a trampoline, and I hate it not for the safety reasons. It's just such an eyesore in my backyard because we don't ever buy a nice one. We buy the cheapest one they have on sale, the $300 trampoline. And then 6 months later, half of it's rusted. All the pads have mold all over them. And it's just ugly.
I never actually had a trampoline, and I never would let my children have a trampoline because
oh my goodness. You were that mom?
I was.
I was that mom.
It's fun.
Too funny.
We built this new thing in our backyard, and I was like, hey, no more trampoline. I am not messing up the view back here. And then my wife and my kids thought I was awful because I was choosing aesthetics over their fun. So,
well, I guess I'm just a regular old fun sucker all the time. So I don't know. They just moved on. That's
Well,
funny.
then after that, they started researching the in-ground trampolines, so they didn't have to look at it. And that was that was shut down because it's too expensive.
It's too funny.
Right.
So where, I feel like if I recall in your journey at some point, power tumbling took you to the Olympics, right?
It did. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So in our gym, we had a mom named Patty. And Patty ended up being the head of the judging for USA tumbling and trampolining. And I guess by the time I was 12 years old, I started to pick up the skills and made the U.S. team, and I had the opportunity to travel all over the world, with Switzerland and New Zealand, and really caused Ann Sims, who is the executive director for USA Gymnastics, tumbling and trampoline, a lot of hell. So don't bring up my name if you see her. But we had a lot of fun and traveled all over the world. And then Patty, who was a parent, ended up becoming, and she was a parent at our NARDS gym, trained with her daughter. She ended up becoming the head of the judging association, and she was instrumental in getting to pick the team who was able to exhibition in the Olympics in '96. In the Coca-Cola Olympic City. So I got to be in that traveling caravan and go do it. And that was actually a really big shift in my life. I mean, that was a big time moment that changed a lot of stars for me. So I'm still thankful to her for allowing me to participate in that. That was
That's
amazing.
really cool.
That is so cool. That is a big, huge regret I have. The '96 Olympics were right down the street from me, and all my friends and everybody in the cheer world and all these different worlds, came in and did that. And I was like, I don't have time for that. I got to work. I got to make money. And, one of those things I really, really kind of regret, because once in a lifetime experience that I did not get to partake in, or chose not to partake in.
Yeah. So whenever that happened, the media got a hold of that event and said, "Hey, there's a local guy here that's teaching lessons," and he got to go to the Olympics in Atlanta. And the gym, I was in a little facility at that time. I think it was in Marshall, Texas, and it picked up I picked up a lot of students because of all the publicity. And I found out that, hey, my Rolodex financial method that I was doing, where I would just write a check mark if they paid their tuition, was not probably the best way to track all of the new students.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of got me thinking that, hey, we're going to have to figure out something different.
Well, and Chris, for some of our young listeners, I need to probably explain to them what a Rolodex even is, because
I love a Rolodex.
They don't even know.
I don't have one anymore, but I loved mine.
So a Rolodex was a round, thing, I guess you could say, that had little cards, and you would put people's contact information on the card, and then you would kind of thumb through the Rolodex to gather people's contact information. So you would actually track their payments on their Rolodex card.
That was iClassPro version, alpha version.
Ground zero.
Yeah. At that time, actually, I think it was called School Force, which was a great name. I don't know why I changed it to iClassPro. School Force was so cool. But
that is so funny.
And I remember telling my secretary, I had an office person, I said, "Hey, listen, I need you to go through, and if they did not pay their tuition, I want you to just scan the card, put it upside down, so I can just count through and see how many people had not paid their tuition." And I'm like 19 years old, thinking this was really smart. And I went and coached classes and went back, and she didn't really understand the mission. She just took the card and just flipped it upside down completely in the Rolodex. So
that doesn't help you.
Didn't really help me. That's when we decided, hey, we're going to have to figure something else out. And
at least, you were intuitive enough to know that you needed somebody to help you have a secretary. Because back in the day, I mean, that's one of the things that, I say it's a huge part of our success at Stingrays. Because I was on the floor, and I was one of the few gyms in town that where we had people that would answer a phone and would run the front office. So.
Yeah, still today, the best the best facilities have amazing people at their front desk. That's a secret.
That was the one thing I feel like early on in Premier, Boog and Mike, when Premier was starting, and I got started with them, early on in my 20s, that was one of the biggest things they harped on too, was finding a good office person and somebody that's going to be there to answer the phones. And they were adamant that we needed to make sure that somebody was there, to just pick up the phone. And I'm not saying that it's not important today, because it still is, in my opinion. I think it is very important, but there's so much technology today that allows you, you can ring the phone, to your cell phone. Like, you don't have to actually physically be sitting in the building as much anymore. But, Chris, I think I just thought about this because you were talking about the Rolodex. So we had a couple different class management systems before Premier switched to iClass. And I don't even remember the very first one's name, but it was archaic. Like it was like green cursor, type of software system.
On your Radio Shack?
Yes.
What was the Radio Shack computer?
Basically, yes. And it only, like the original IBM, like back in the day. Anyway, it would only track tuition, I feel like. So anything else that we were collecting from the parents and paying out, we had to keep separate. And so I had a binder, and my office manager that kept track of all of our finances would put everything in a binder. And I just thought about this. We continued using that binder as we progressed through class management software systems until iClassPro. I didn't want to stop doing the binder method because we trusted it, and we felt like everything in there was accurate, and the computer systems, they weren't robust enough to like manage all the things that we did. And it wasn't until we started with iClassPro that we tossed the binder in the trash. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun. That's a big step.
Yeah. It's huge. We put our Rolodex in the trash.
Yeah. And to be fair, I did not set out to start iClassPro. Like, that was not my intention. I just could not find the right solution, the right system. I tried the DOS-based solution called ClassSoft that was written in Clipper. It was this blue screen, and you had to do F2, and sometimes it would get corrupted, and you'd have to rebuild the system. And then I went to FileMaker Pro, and I tried some of the FileMaker Pro systems back then. I think there was one called Balance, and then I know Tom Forster came out with ZipGym and FileMaker Pro, and then there was Pro School at one point and Windows, but there wasn't a really good internet-based web solution. And my only goal, like what I wanted to do, was not have to type in the data into the computer. I had to literally back then still take the paper form that the parents signed and type it in manually. I was like, maybe we could do this through the website. And that's where the I in iClassPro came from, this internet class. They could put in their information through the internet. And then the iPhone came out, which was a great coincidence, helped us with our branding. But that's how it all went down. Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
We had a binder as well, Stace, and that was a lot of people hated that binder because our front desk lady came out. It was this giant, huge binder. It ran the entire gym. And I think, if I recall, people were complaining about the binder, and then Y2K took out our class software, and then sent us looking for something.
Did it really?
Absolutely.
I don't think that it actually did. I think we had the foresight to see, and we checked, and it was going to. So like it was going to be one of those things that did not roll over and didn't work. So we had to.
I actually thought that was like not real.
No, it was spot on. In fact, the way the Y2K bug worked with the children's software back then, all the kids, instead of being 5 years old when the 2000 hit, they were 105 years old. And so now they couldn't fit in any of the classes because of the age requirements, because they didn't have the foresight to think about, hey, maybe we will hit the year 2000. So it threw off all the kids' ages by 100 years.
Well, I mean, isn't that just coding in general, right? I mean, it's like how many different ways can you think? And I feel like there's always some human that's going to come along and break it, no matter how many different ways you thought to, debug whatever, just all the different potential outcomes that you thought of as a human being. And then somebody comes along and they think differently, and then they break it. And you're like, well, would have never thought about that.
I'm telling you, it took something of that magnitude for us to change. My office manager / bookkeeper, greatest lady on the planet. But man, if it worked, she was not going to change it. Like,
I get it.
So that was the whole thing. Like, she wasn't changing until we had to.
So you guys are in, I know, right? Right. You guys are in, you do a lot of gymnastics clubs and swim and cheer and some dance. Right. So how did you specifically get into cheer?
So I had the opportunity, and after the 96 Olympics, I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and start an all-star cheerleading program because that sounds easy and fun. And the student teacher, nothing to it. So I decided it would be a great idea to try to get some credentials and things like that under my belt. And so we were pretty close to Dallas. I drove in. I met some friends there. I met Jody and Angela and Brad, and I was just absolutely enamored by the skill set. Here I won national championships in tumbling. I was second in the world in exhibition and did all this stuff. And I was like the worst tumbler in the cheer gym. I was like, what the heck? These guys are amazing. And so I had a lot of fun competing with those guys. And still to this day, I call them friends. But cheerleading and the talent, it is a sport. I love watching the choreography and the dancing and things like that. I was absolutely the worst dancer so they just told me to clap, to stunt, and tumble. That's all I did.
That's pretty funny. I never really thought about it. I have a mental picture of you dancing in my head now.
Picture it being bad and then know it's worse. Somewhere there's probably a video somewhere that I don't want to find.
I bet you're second worst because I think I'm the worst.
Okay, guys, I'm feeling a dance off. I'm just saying.
Are you feeling it?
It's not happening. We'll watch you dance. Yeah. I'm the guy at church everybody's looking at because I'm clapping off beat. So
right.
Chris is like, you can feel it all you want, but there will be no dance off today. It's not happening. I love it. Oh my goodness. Too funny. So tell us about your humble beginnings. One of the things we really like to talk about on the podcast, Chris, is just kind of the beginning. And we're going to get to where you are now, on the second half of our segment. But I think that we as humans, oftentimes, we look at something and like you said, like I'm going to start an all-star, team and program that looks easy, and it's because hopefully the people that are doing it and doing it well, they're successful and they make it look easy. That's the goal. But we all know that that's not really actually the case. And so we love to talk about, entrepreneurial stories and kind of where you started and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah. So 2000 hit, and that was really the turning point when I was like, no, I'm really going to do this. I had written a little Access database and Excel solutions that were just terrible. And to give the guys that started all this credit, I mean, this is back in the day where they would ship you a disk and you would install it. It wasn't this thing where you could just push updates over the air. So the guys back then, I mean, they had it worse. But I wanted to create web-based software. And so I started out really getting serious around the year 2000. And I had several friends that I would let them look at the software and see if we were onto something. And they would give feedback and critique. But I was just using it for my own school.
I want to point out too, as much as I've known you and as many times as we've talked about this never really occurred to me. But, in the year 2000, to have the fortitude to think about a web-based class management software system, Casey, like that's kind of crazy because the internet was really just kind of jumping off. I mean, a lot of people didn't even have a website for crying out loud,
And to be fair, it wasn't until 2008 until we really got something that was actually legitimate and I got smart.
Well, probably because you were ahead of the ability to do it is what my point is the fact that you even had the thought in the year 2000, I would imagine you struggled to get it over the finish line at that time because the world just wasn't ready for it yet.
But again, I really wasn't thinking, hey, I'm going to build software that everybody in 40 countries is going to use. I'm going to build something cool that'll help me replace my Rolodex. That's where we started.
Right.
You wanted to make your life easier, not 6,000 businesses' lives easier. So it started out as a self-serving.
100%. And it became this like, man, I like this. This is fun. I like building websites. I like helping my friends. And so it just became something I just poured myself into. But I did not believe it was going to work. So I'm still coaching gymnastics. I'm coaching cheerleading. I'm driving back and forth between my gym in Shreveport, my gym here in Marshall. And I'm not making any money because I'm just not charging enough. I was struggling at this point, I have 3 kids. Marriage is tough. So I think this isn't going to work. So I'm still doing the software on the side. I go back and I do nursing school. So here I am juggling all-stars and cheer and tumble and privates and kids and software. And I went to nursing school. I'm the worst nurse. I'm worse at being a nurse than I am being a dancer. But I got all the way through the nursing classes and realized, oh yeah, I forgot I hate hospitals.
And I hate hospitals. I'm not a caretaker.
I'm not even empathetic. So like that was probably not the best idea I ever had.
What? Yeah. I mean, honestly, seriously, like
Yeah, right.
what would make you think that was a good place to go?
Yeah, so my buddy, his son and my son were best friends. He was a CRNA, and I was like, "What a great gig! You just put people to sleep, and you make $200,000-$300,000 a year. I'm gonna sign up and do that." Oh, I got to do nursing first. Yeah, let me try that. It was not my best move because you should never do something for money. And that was the best lesson in life I ever learned. Don't do something that you hate just for a paycheck because you can't be amazing at it. You can't change the world. You're not going to be inspired. You're not going to be happy. And that literally was the best education in having to go to years of doing something I hate to realize I sold out. And so I gave it one more shot. I scrapped up every dollar I had. It was $900, I think, to go to the Gymnastics Association of Texas, GAT, and rent a booth. And I just had this crappy little computer and a screen and a banner. I sat in the corner. I didn't talk to anybody all weekend. And at the very end, I'm packing up my box thinking, this is a failure. God is telling me this is not what you're supposed to do. And in the very last second, as I'm packing up my boxes, a guy named Jarrett, Alpha Omega was the name, Alpha Omega, came and wrote me a check for $99. And I'm like, yes,
we have a customer.
One more dollar and I'm at a hundo.
Right.
That's
and
awesome.
That was kind of at least that kick that I needed to like, hey, this could work. Now it still took another 10 years to really get going. But that was,
which I think is so important to everything that you just said right there. Actually, I think is just, it's so correct. Like, not selling out, not doing something just for the money, for all the reasons why that you said. But then I also think, a lot of businesses, they quit before they really reach the point that they're going to explode or they're going to, you've got to keep pushing and keep, yeah. I don't know how long it took you. You said another 10 years really before you felt like you got up and running from that first customer. Imagine, I can't even imagine if even 5 years later you decided to give it up. We wouldn't be sitting here having this conversation, and iClassPro wouldn't be impacting all the businesses that it's currently impacting. I mean, I know
but that's a great point, Stacy, especially today's young person or the person. I mean, a couple of great points here. Like, do what you love, and I think that's more prominent in today's world. Like, people are really searching for a job. They want to make an impact. They want to change the world. I often am like, well, you got to pay some bills too. So, and those are all the things when you're balancing kids and a wife and all of that, it's tough. But, to your point of taking 10 years to get there, I mean, that's the reality of starting a business or running a business. It takes so long it's not an overnight thing. At least not for the businesses that I think we're involved in and that we're used to. And that's the thing I look back on. I mean, it was, goodness gracious, every dime you made was reinvested in the company. Every ounce of energy you had was also reinvested in the company. And you went a long, long time before you could I can actually put something in my checking account now. So pretty crazy.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't take a paycheck. I paid my developers and I coached in my gymnastics tuition, student loans, helped pay for, equipment for the gym so that I could actually coach and do private lessons to pay for the development. And it took a long time and people thought I was crazy for sticking with it. But
you've had a huge impact. We're glad you stuck with it. You've had a huge impact on many gyms to include my own. So While we're on that, I'm going to tell everybody about how we can help your gym and with your MotUS membership. So owning a gym doesn't have to be lonely. Join the movement today. MotUS is a powerhouse community of gym owners who share, support, and grow together. Inside the MotUS Vault, you'll unlock ready-to-use templates, fresh resources, and exclusive discounts from partners like Infinity, Vault Event Media, Cheer Sounds, and more. In addition, you'll receive 15% off from our Prime Alliance event producers, All Out Brands, Winner's Choice, World Cheer Company, All Day Cheerleading, American Spirit Championships, USCA, Liberty Spirit, and CX Brands. Plus, your membership includes 2 seats at the MotUS Business Expo Conference in Nashville, Tennessee each year, 2 days of business growth, leadership, and networking, free with your membership, ready to level up your game. Join MotUS today at joinmotus.com. That is JOINMOTUS.com. I didn't mess up too much of that, and I spelled
No,
it
you did
correctly,
good. You did really good. You did really good.
All right, my favorite time. I got a very fitting dad joke. I think it fits Chris and what he's doing. So
Let's hear it.
why did the computer show up late to work? I think you can get this, Chris.
Had a bug?
That's a good one, but not it. It had a hard drive.
Oh.
Boom, boom.
It had a bug, though. I feel like was a good answer.
It fits. So
yeah, that's a good answer. I had like 10 more I wanted to do with you, Chris, just to see if you could get the answers.
All right.
Oh, too funny.
Anyway, y'all be sure to send us your favorite dad jokes so we can share them on the show, give you a shout out. You can email them to Stacy at joinmotus.com. That's STACY at joinmotus.com. Or hit us up on our social media at joinmotus.
Boom. Love it. Dad jokes. Chris, you got any good dad jokes? Putting you on the spot.
I'd have to ask ChatGPT. That's kind of...
Oh, well, she trusts you. She doesn't. We don't get to say our own, so at least I don't. So
yeah. I do trust Chris.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh my goodness, too funny. So, okay, we heard about the beginnings of iClassPro, and now for people that don't know, I mean, like you said, you're in 40 countries. Just give us the quick overview. Like, where are you now today? I know it's crazy and massive, and going every minute of the day.
It's hard for me to even fathom 40 countries or thousands and thousands of schools and 25 to 50 million users. I do remember back when I started, when we were programming something, we're like, if there was something not quite right, we were like, what's the chance that a user would actually experience that weird issue? And even if it is, that's 1 in a million. Well, at the scale that we're at, I mean, 1 in a million happens 25 times every hour, right? So it's just crazy. We partner with Amazon Web Services to help us scale. That was a big change in our infrastructure about 10 years ago. And it's been incredible because we can now cluster the different data centers and our different servers. For example, if we have servers in Australia, and a lot of the Australian swim schools and things like that need their data just to be localized to Australia. And then you have your GDPR compliance in the UK. So there's just a lot of moving parts. We have to be PCI compliant and have to think about we're protecting, families and kids' data, and it is a nonstop battle, but we have over 100 people on our team now. We're just finished building a new headquarters, so you guys.
Is it done?
They're putting the flooring in right now. So.
Oh, nice. Amazing! Congratulations! That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah, and we made the Inc. 5000 fastest growing company list for the 3rd year in a row, and I just feel so blessed. This wasn't something I ever thought I would be able to do. I remember telling someone, like, I'm not doing anything in the gymnastics and cheer space because it's so hard to make money. And it's true if you're doing it for money. But if you do it as a passion and you do it because you love it, you see choreographers and music people and the best of the best, they can name their price because they're that good. And,
it's one of the things I always like to talk about with iClassPro. I've obviously been to the headquarters and a couple times, actually, I think 2 or 3 times now. And I've always been so impressed when I talk to your team and anybody that works for iClass, just how much they genuinely care about helping their end user, the gym owner, and we call it gym owners, but obviously not everybody's gym owners. There's swim school, there's all kinds of different things, but the activity center, and they genuinely are like, how is this change going to help make their lives easier? And I remember being so caught off guard by that not expecting that is how, not just you, but like every person that I talked to, that was kind of their attitude about it. And they genuinely like feel that what they're doing is making all of our lives easier. And that's kind of what they show up to work every day to do, which I think is pretty cool. And I always like to tell people that because I think it matters. It's important.
Yeah, thank you. We have an amazing team. Like, I'm at our headquarters right now, so it's set up to where we have an upstairs, and there's an area to the right and an area to the left. So we're kind of split down the middle. But the right side of our facilities, we call it the dark side, and that's our developers that just stay coding. Leave me alone. Don't talk to me. Designers and coders. And then we have the light side. And so the light side, the lights are actually on right now on this side of the building, and that's our support team and the people who train and onboard our customers, and they love to be social and talk, and we do have this amazing spirit of teamwork and collaboration. It's one of our core values. So
that's awesome.
I'd have to be on the light side. I would only last on the other side about 30 minutes a day. So
I honestly think I could bounce back and forth from side to side.
You are one of those rare individuals. But
I think I'd like a few days on the dark side, a few days on the light side. Honestly, I think depending on the mood that I'm in.
Yeah, that's funny. We had one developer who was very, very social, and he was on the dark side, and they banished him to the light side. He was just talking to everybody, kept asking questions, and it was like, shut up.
That's too funny.
Yeah, not my world, man. If I get much past the iPhone, I start to get nervous. So,
right.
I know you started talking about all these different like terminologies, and I'm like, people are going to be like, what in the world is he talking about? That was one of the jokes it was like it's different computer languages and things, and I was like, I can't do that. I can't do that joke.
So Chris, you guys do. I know we've talked about some of the swimming and cheerleading and gymnastics. I think some karate and all different kind of things, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the challenges because it's children's activity centers. And one of the things that we did right early on, we did not chase the shiny object to go into the fitness center and yoga and all those types of ancillary fitness health club type spaces, because we are so focused in on families and children's activity centers. And that ended up being our moat, because even the whole data structure is different between having a family and with students in one object with one invoice versus a health club membership where everybody's a specific member. But it's been great, because whenever I set out, I didn't think about swim. I was thinking about gymnastics and cheer, maybe dance. But yeah, we have martial arts studios. We actually have equestrian and volleyball and baseball.
I was just going to say that. I remember we built a soccer website, so I remember there was soccer.
All right, so I'm going to put you on the spot here. Maybe we shouldn't do this, Stacy. Maybe want to cut it out because this is mostly towards cheer. But
oh goodness,
you see all the numbers, and let's pull out the passion piece and pull out what you're doing. You see all that, and if you had to go out and open a business today with the knowledge that you have.
Wait, let's see how well I know Chris. Let's see if I can answer the question. If he answers like what I think he's going to answer.
Okay, but mine was going to be strictly on like profit. Like if you, out of all the things you guys do, who's killing it?
He would open up a swim school tomorrow.
Kudos to Stacy. Swim centers are very, very profitable if they're done right. And if you think about it, they charge the same amount per lesson, but their lessons are half the time. So and sometimes they're a fourth. They're 15 minutes or 30 minutes, but they're charging the same price. They don't have to have a 23-year-old super athlete that can spot fools and double fools that you pay $30-$40 an hour. They can get someone who just loves kids and help them blow bubbles. The facility's smaller, 5,000 square feet or less. The pool is, typically 40 by 40, very low overhead. It's a great great vertical, and it's a life sport. You don't have to be built a specific way in order to get into a swimming pool, and everybody needs to learn to swim.
I was just going to say, I mean, you're right. Like everybody doesn't need to learn to do a backflip, but everybody, should learn to swim, really.
Absolutely.
I know you and I have talked about that, and that is something I bring up often is this swimming thing, because part of my story and kind of bumming around in my late teens, early 20s, I was a lifeguard, and then I had this crossroads, like, hey man, what are you going to be? You going to be a professional lifeguard or a professional cheerleader? Which neither one seemed like a great option back then, but I love both of them. I love being around pools, and I actually used to teach adult swim lessons because no one else would. And everybody would teach the younger kids, but man, I just loved being around a pool. So I taught adult swim lessons and I taught special needs swim lessons, and I loved both of those. So that's always in my head of like, gosh, we need a little Stingray swim center right there.
Cole and I have talked about it as well, actually.
Yeah. What a great name, Stingray Swim.
The problem is there is actually a Stingray Swim in our area that is equal. I don't know who's older, but they've been around for a while. So we'd have to do some negotiating on that name. They didn't just start last week. But they mostly focus on their swim team. So
but for anybody listening, though, we do need to clarify, when people think swim centers, it's not like Michael Phelps, big, long Olympic.
Right.
It's learn to swim. It's little babies teaching them how to blow bubbles and safe in the pool. So that's a whole different animal if you're doing teens.
I have kind of a funny, interesting story, I feel like, about iClass and Chris. So Premier, we started, we weren't your first customer, obviously, but we were pretty early on. I feel like we were one of the first, and had iClassPro forever. We still have it now. So I think 15, 16 years we've been using iClass maybe. Yeah. But somewhere, I don't know, 7-8 years ago, maybe, we thought about switching to a different class management software. And I think that we did. And you and I had a conversation about it. And that's what I was going to say, that I think that it goes a long way to say that, you heard that we were going to, I don't even know how you found out. I was going to tell you eventually, but I feel like you actually reached out to me before I had an opportunity to tell you. And I just think that just speaks volumes. You kind of reached out and you were like, I can't believe that you guys are going to go and do something else. Like why would you do that? And of course, anybody that knows me knows, like, don't ask questions you don't want answers to. So you asked me that question and I started answering, and I was like, I just feel like there's not been a whole lot of activity going on. We need more things in the software, and we don't have it. And the newer systems have new shiny pennies, and we're just considering moving on elsewhere. I'm sorry, but I love you. It's been a good run, but it is what it is. and you took it. I just think that speaks such volumes. Like, you took it, and you were so kind and gentle. I'm sure you were raging on the inside on that phone call, but you were just, you took it all in. And then, you explained all of the things that iClassPro had coming down the pipe. And I was like, well, we didn't know that was, we didn't know that those things were happening. And I don't know, I just feel like from that point, which, it was a coincidence. I'm not saying our conversation is what was the catalyst of it. It was a coincidence. But from that point, it was like a rollout, one thing after another. And the software has just, you guys have added so many things and done so many things. But I just think it speaks volumes. There's a lot of times I talk to parents who they leave a facility and they're like, we didn't even get an email, a phone call, nothing. Like, we quit and we heard nothing.
Yeah. They're like,
and I don't know. Like, I think that you didn't have to call me, but you did. And I thought that was really great. And not only did you, but you asked me what you could do, like why, and I gave you a very direct answer, and you took it.
Can you imagine Stacy being direct?
I can't imagine at all. And for the record, Stingrays is never considered leaving. So,
thanks very much. True blue.
Whatever, it's fine. I'm still his favorite, Casey. You can try all you want.
Well, I was going to say ours is, because you said something a minute ago. That front desk staff is so important. To me, they're equally as important as your best coaches, They are the people that are, they're the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
But to me, it's always important that they're happy and that they have the tools to do their job. And that's something that, I'll be honest with you, they don't even let me get on iClass. They're like, stay away from it. That's not your world. I don't even have a login to the Stingray one. I don't know how to use it. I don't want to know how to use it.
Shame on you. Shame on you, Casey.
But
I'm in there pulling reports all the time.
My people love it. Like they absolutely, they love it, and they love working with you guys. And I think to the same extent, I think there's been a couple of times where they've challenged you all and, hey, we need this. And everything I hear is really positive. So we really appreciate that.
Thank you guys. And y'all's support over the years. I cannot say thank you enough because we want the leaders and the mentors and people like the MotUS and we want to be the best of the best. We want to work with the best of the best, and I consider you guys the best of the best. But there are times like that it's frustrating. Like right now, I think there's a message like, "Hey, where's two-way messaging?" Well, we built out two-way messaging, and it's ready to roll out, but you can't just roll it out without thinking, okay, well, we need filters. So if there's profanity, you don't want something to happen to where the kids are seeing language. What about the ability for us to do multi-languages? What about if I need it in Spanish, or if I need to do it in Australia and we have it on different servers? What about at 10 o'clock at night? Do we need to honor our text messaging times? And there's just so much that goes into to do it right. And it is frustrating when we see these apps roll out in 6 weeks and they say, hey, we've got all these features and it's free. But do know that we hear you loud and clear. We have the best intentions, but we're never going to roll it out. And if it's not safe and it's not right and it's not the best. So thank y'all for your patience as we work through doing it the right way.
I think that's a great point, Chris, because we've had different things come up where I've had, hey, do we have this? iClass doesn't offer this right now. Can we go to this other thing? And I'm quick to, hey, let's hold on. Let's talk to the folks at iClass, because I agree. There's no sense, like, I don't want our people to have to do the work twice, So sometimes it's just, I think you make a great point. Let's wait, let's get it right. And then it integrates with what we're already doing, and it's part of what they already do. So,
yeah.
Randomly, I had a call this morning with my team at Premier, and somebody asked me if they were like, do you know if iClassPro has a tipping feature? And I was like, a tipping feature, like actually leaving a tip? And they were like, yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And I kind of looked, I kind of thought about it for a second, and I'm like, no, I don't think that they do. I'm like, but I'm going to see Chris today. So I'm going to throw that, I'm going to put that bug in his ear. They were like, for birthday parties and, different things parents want to tip, and there's not like a tipping option. And I was like, in all the years, I feel like we've talked to people and gone round and round. That was a brand new suggestion. Of course, you've probably heard that already. I don't know, but
that's a new one. I've seen Venmo come out with the ability to quickly send tips, but I think for birthday parties, things like that, that's great. It's a great idea.
So there you go. So tips, add it to your list.
It is literally everywhere. You can't buy anything without flipping the screen around.
Right. Add it to the list. It might be $499 on the list, but put it on the list.
Yeah, one thing that I'm excited that's rolling out this year, some of you guys will get emails from us out of the blue that iClassPro could potentially be free, and your processing could be free. I say that with a little caveat because what you're doing is basically passing on the tip or the credit card surcharge to the parents, and we're finally work through all the logistics with the lawyers and attorneys and all that type of stuff where we can actually let you guys pass on a technology fee. And then your parents are actually going to see you're basically distributing the merchant processing cost.
Which, that's an interesting, let's dig into that for a second, actually, because, I'm 50, I straddle the fence on that. I don't, as a consumer, I don't like when it's passed on to me, but it is becoming more and more normal that the credit card processing fees are being passed on to the customer. So part of me is kind of like, well, maybe we should do the same thing. But as a business owner, I get it. It costs a lot of money. And I am assuming that, not necessarily the swim clubs, but for sure the dance, gymnastics, and cheer clubs, we talk about all the time. We are collecting tons and tons and tons of money that we collect, that we hold for the parent to pay out for them. That's not our money. And we are paying credit card processing fees on that. And then oftentimes when we have to pay the bill where we're paying, like whatever we're paying for, those people are passing off their credit card processing fees to us. So we're actually paying them twice on the dollars that we're collecting. And that's something that as business owners, we're kind of like, I don't want to pass it off to the customer, but at the end of the day, like that's the reality of our situation. And, if we're providing a service and it costs money to collect their credit card, dollars or whatever, that's one thing. But when you really start getting into the other aspect of it, where we're collecting money that we're paying out and we're basically paying credit card processing fees on it twice, just for a service, just to collect their money and pay it back out again, that we're losing. I mean, that's not,
So let's think about a typical cheer or gymnastics center that has 1,000 kids. They're probably doing what, 500,000 to $1 million a year. And their credit card processing could be, $50,000 to $100,000 in credit card processing over the year. And people think that iClassPro is doing like crazy numbers and on that 2.9%, but the lion's share goes to MasterCard or Visa or whoever has their name on the card. But now let's flip it and let's say, hey, you pass that to the customer. I could not think of a better way to let that 2.9 go straight to your bottom line. So if it's let's say it's 3.9. Because you don't want to pay credit card, you don't want to pay iClassPro fees either. You want a free iClassPro software. On a $100 transaction, that's $4 or $3.90 or whatever. That $4 to a parent is negligible, and a $50 charge, that's $2. But you're distributing it across 1,000 people versus you guys getting hit with $5,000-$10,000 a month. It's just so hard to argue that, man, that's just not a good thing for the clubs because those credit card fees add up. And it really hits your EBITDA in a way that it's hard to.
Oh, no, totally.
Yeah.
I
would argue that you're always passing it on to the consumer. It's just a different way of looking at it. And
Correct.
that's that can be a thing. I don't know the way it would ease my mind. Hey, if we're going to do a 3% increase every year, then the year that we pass that on to the customer, there's your 3%. You just
It's the same thing. It is the same thing.
You just don't.
You just raise the prices, and that works too. But everybody seems to be. I will tell you, we get to see a lot of data, and our cohort is across, again, 40 plus countries. It's interesting because since COVID, some of the numbers enrollments have gone down, but the profitability is going up, which means people are raising prices. But I don't think that we've recovered yet. I don't think we've really started getting our economy to the place where the gyms are going to start killing it. And I'm hopeful that in the next 24 months, we're going to see a big change and enrollments are just going to spike.
I think it's important too to kind of note, like you threw out the number like 500,000 to $1 million. I think in some cases it's probably 250 to $1 million, and people listening might be like, "Oh gosh, $1 million!" But like sometimes rent is $30,000 a month. People don't
or more. Yeah,
correct. People don't realize that, and then your utility bills, are several $1,000s. Then you have payroll and different things like that. So $1 million may sound like a lot, but there may not be a ton of profitability after that because there's just so much expense associated with it, which is why it's so important to be a smart business owner and have these kind of conversations and understand, all of those things so that you can, if you can make your business 10% better in profitability, that's huge. And just learning how to make it that 10% better, making sure you're paying attention to your payroll, is it at that 40% mark? That was one of the things that we were always like, anytime a gym had their payroll percentage more than 40%, we were having a conversation like, hey, let's talk about this. Yeah. Because that's huge. That's really huge. I did an activity one time at one of our just premier retreats when I was training our managers and showed them with a like an Excel spreadsheet, the difference between 40% and 60% and how it changed and affected their profitability without changing any other numbers. And I think it was at that moment that they were all like, we understand and we're going to keep it at 40%. And they do it. They do a really good job of that.
Well, Chris, you alluded to it earlier when you were in that business and you're like, I didn't charge enough. I didn't either, because that was the thing I would look at. It's like, okay, we're buying this uniform from the uniform company for $100. I'm not in the uniform business. I feel bad about making money off the uniform. So I'm going to sell it for $100. Well, 5% of the people are going to not pay or be behind on their bill. Then you've got to pay somebody to collect the money. You got to pay somebody to distribute the uniforms. You got to pay all this. And we would end up being in the hole, and it wasn't that we were trying to create this big profit, but like I said, it took me a long time to figure out those things, and then the thing that I always go back to, I don't want to say that it doesn't matter what it costs, because absolutely everything does matter, and people have a floor or a ceiling to what they can spend. But more importantly is the value there. Are we creating that value for our customers? Because if the value's there, then people aren't going to question the cost. And like Stacy talked about staying in the 40% on the payroll. We've had those issues before too. And, my mind, we need to cut payroll. Well, no, actually, we may need to go up a little bit, because these people working with these kids are the most important people in the room, and our customers, they want great coaches, and to have great coaches year round, we had to pay them more. So,
well, and here's the thing too, I feel like that a lot of people don't really, consider is, this has never happened before, but I lost my point.
Well, we're talking about two things that are important. One is geography, a little bit earlier. How much those schools that are making $250,000 in Texas may be comparable to $1 million facility in LA with their rent and things like that. And then, the other point, when I was saying I didn't charge enough, and when you say, hey, it doesn't matter what you charge, I think you have to understand what you're charging for. And people think that they're in the cartwheel business or they're in the back handspring business, and you're not. I always say you're in the business of making memories and happy, healthy kids and relationships. And when you figure that out and you get the right parents, the right kids, and the right teachers, and the right combination, they will pay whatever, and they'll be loyal. And you know what? It's worth it, because you're really building good character and confidence in kids. And that's what I wish I realized whenever I was a coach. I was about building national champions and trying to get the gold medals. And that didn't matter. And I see all my kids that I used to coach, and they come hug my neck, and we never talk about the skills.
They don't remember what place they got.
Right.
I remember
the experiences.
I remember my thought now, speaking of remembering. It was just basically to say, which Chris, I agree 100% with everything that you're saying. But I was basically going to say, when we started, and Casey, I know you agree with this, and Chris, honestly, probably your software, same difference, or your gym business. We didn't put any type of rhyme or reason into our pricing. It was just, what do we think? I don't know, let's arbitrarily charge this price, or what's the guy down the street charging, or what's the gymnastics facility charging? What do they decide it's worth? Let's do what they do. That's just kind of how it was. And I feel like, I don't know, like that cell phones are different prices for different reasons. Computers are different prices for different reasons, because they know what it costs to manufacture them. I understand that our business is different, but we did not do a very good job at the inception of our sport. I feel like kind of figuring that out. We just picked a number out of thin air.
Yeah, should we talk about private lessons and coaches still getting to use the gym for free for private?
If you're doing that, stop doing it.
I've never done that. Ever.
Sign up for iClassPro appointments and start running them through iClassPro.
For the owners listening, it is a real expense. You have to pay insurance, you have to pay for the utilities, and you have to pay if that kid gets hurt in your gym. So be careful. I see some.
Absolutely. It is, it's such a liability, and I've even had programs before where we make our instructors carry their own insurance, which that's great. But the reality is, if something happens and litigation,
it's still your responsibility.
They're coming after you. They're not coming after that instructor. So, or they're coming after both of you. So and you got to pay for the lights and the toilet paper and all. So,
Casey, why don't you tell us a little bit about CheerFest?
Yeah. Speaking of great experiences, if you're looking for the ultimate cheer camp experience, CheerFest is the premier summer camp for athletes ages 7 to 17. Imagine 6 days of nonstop cheer, dance, tumbling, conditioning, and fun, led by top instructors from across the country. And the best part, you'll leave with new skills, new friends, and memories that last a lifetime. Spots fill fast, so register now at cheerfest.com. That is CHEERFEST.com. Don't just cheer this summer, cheer fest.
I love Cheerfest. It's awesome. It's an awesome. Good time.
My favorite week of the year.
Yes, it is.
I go up there. I take my son with me. That's a great experience that we have. My son likes to go up there and bounce around the camp for the week. So it's good family time for us. So
That's awesome.
So, Chris, we always do a quote on our podcast. I'm kind of a Simon Sinek freak. I love all things Simon Sinek. I don't know if you know who he is, but I love his books and just all of his TED Talks. And so we always do a quote from Simon, and then we just kind of unpack the quote, talk about it. Do we like it? Do we not like it? So today's quote is: a weak leader likes to tell us how many people work for them. A great leader is humbled to tell us how many people they work for.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
I would question. There's no such thing as a weak leader. If you're weak, you're really not a leader. If you're in that position where people are underneath you, or you better be strong and be the first one in there and work your butt off. It's hard work. To be a leader is not even something that you can just put a title on. It's just something that, I don't know, happens.
I like it.
I try to remind myself when I get frustrated of why I'm here, why I'm in this position. Because there's days, like the phone's ringing, the toilet's clogged, this is going, all the different things, and they pile up. And, and I try to remind myself, man, it's my job to make the job of those around me easier, and that's I really, really try to remind myself of that, especially when I get frustrated. Because we've all had those times of like, gosh, why am I always the one getting the call? Why am I this? And everybody's got their own version of hard, but I don't know. That's the thing I look at. We're put here to serve others, and that's to me, that's an important part about leadership.
I totally
being able
agree.
to do any job, and like how can I make your job easier?
Yeah, I think when you're equating for example, actually on the podcast today, I asked Chris, like, where are you at now? How much have you grown? And, he was like, we're up to over 100 employees. I think that's a good answer to a question when you're referring to growth of your company or just kind of where you started to where you are now. Some people, many gyms, they don't have 100 employees. They can't even fathom managing 100 employees. And that's a lot of people, to manage. But I think that, I agree that a leader that walks around like, oh, I have all these employees working for me, and that's kind of the first thing out of their mouth, you're kind of in it for the wrong reason. So I kind of agree, but I like what you said too, Chris. It's like, if you're a weak leader, you're not really, there is no such thing. You're not a leader.
Yeah. Whenever I pull up, it's overwhelming to see all the cars in the parking lot. Because we're not a remote. I mean, we have remote people as well, but we're pretty much in-house, and we have most of our team right here. I think it's good for culture. And when you see hundreds of cars and their families, and that every car payment, every all the insurance, and they have kids, and they have Christmas and Thanksgiving, and you're responsible for it. It's humbling, and you better take that responsibility greatly. I
agree. I could not agree with you more. And it's like I put that on my back constantly.
Yeah,
absolutely. I get
higher, slow, fire. What was it? Higher, slow, fire, fast. Is that it?
Yeah.
I get it from both sides, because there's all the employees, and then there are all the athletes and all the families. And there's times where, just like I pull into the gym or I pull into an event, or I'll just get overwhelmed. There's just like almost emotional. I'm pretty emotional. I'll get emotional of like, goodness gracious, look at all these people that are here for Stingrays. And, but like I said, like you said, with that, there comes a responsibility, to many, and to both to the employees and to the athletes and all that. But I think that's a cool thing. I'm often asked, hey, did you ever think you guys would be this big? And it's like, well, yeah, I did. I really did, because I thought the sky was the limit. And the biggest thing is I wanted to have an impact, not me. I wanted the gym and all the people that work there and all the people that coach there and the people that are no longer there that have been there to be able to impact an entire community, And And I would argue that that's even grown outside of our direct community. Much like you, we're not international, but we've grown and are just outside of our local area. So, and I think that's awesome. And what all of us are doing to be able to do that and have an impact on so many people in a positive way.
I agree completely. Well, Chris, every episode we ask our guests to pick a question or to give a question to our listeners. So what question would you like to ask our listeners?
Whenever I go to something a couple times a year called, it's a boot camp where you get to work with owners. And anytime you go around and you say, hey, what's your biggest concern or issue? They always say staffing. Staffing's the biggest issue, finding really talented people. But I'd be curious to know, other than staffing,
what's your biggest issue?
What's your biggest issue? What's your biggest need?
Awesome. Well, you guys heard the question. Go to our social media at Join MotUS and find today's podcast post and comment the answer to the question. While you're there, be sure to hit that follow button. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can comment the answer to your question or the answer to Chris's question right there. So I like it. What is your biggest issue? Pain point. Yeah.
And
awesome.
If you don't use iClass at your gym or your program, you need to check it out.
Agree.
Yes, I appreciate y'all.
Agree. We are really glad that you were here today. Appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. For our listeners out there, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at the MotUS Edge. Check out our shorts, like and comment. We love to hear from you. Give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, and X at Join MotUS. Follow our show wherever you listen to your podcast. If you like what we're doing and you want to hear more, leave us a comment and tell all of your friends. And hey, if you're a gym owner, join the movement and sign up for MotUS today. Thank you all for listening, and we're excited for you to have the MotUS Edge.
Well, have a great
Bye,
day,
y'all.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the MotUS Edge. We hope you had a blast. Join us next week for more on business, leadership, and motivation. Subscribe and follow the show where you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our newsletter at joinmotus.com. The MotUS Edge podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.